Oh, hi. Hey there. Hello. Um, I thought I would pop on here just to do like a short little kind of like live stream video sesh about something that has honestly been on my mind so much the past few weeks, but I just haven't really figured out how to talk about it. Um, but it's something I feel like it's frustrating that at this point in my journey, I'm still having to deal with this so much. But basically, with being misgendered, what feels like constantly sometimes. Um, like today at work, I had a few guests who I could hear, like, not to my face, but like behind me and kind of like whispering to themselves, just like misgender, 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 sorry, 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 like 7 or 8 times. And I feel like it's kind of gotten to the point where I think at this point I've been on hormones for like a year and a half. And I'm like, okay, listen, I get there's certain things about my face that are maybe slightly masculine. Hello, I cannot help the circumstances of my birth. I am well aware that certain people are going to clock me no matter what I do, and that's really frustrating. Um, but whenever things like that happen, where it's like you feel like you've taken a leap in your presentation, you start wearing more femme clothing, you start wearing like makeup, you start really trying to present yourself as outwardly as your gender identity as possible. It's like you make those strides, and every single time you do it, there's always that backlash where you just get this wave of people that are like, no, and just you get this like constant wave of misgendering that didn't happen before. It's like the universe, every time you take a step forward, the universe steps in and backhands you to put you right back where you were before. And like as shitty as it is, I know this is a really common experience for the community, especially the non-binary community. I have heard from so many friends of mine who are non-binary how they're like, listen, we feel like we can't fit in any spaces anywhere because even if um, you are in a queer space that accepts non-binary people, they still kind of expect you to fall into like one category or the other, and not that many people really allow you to be completely comfortable as yourself, like even in the queer community. um, so just like that in itself is an enormous problem. But I've been trying to think more. Like it's really difficult for me when I'm trying as hard as I can with what I have right now to feel comfortable in my identity, to present myself in a way that makes me happy, where I feel like I'm being genuine to myself. Um, and I feel like I'm moving forward and I'm growing and I'm blossoming into the woman I've always been and trying my hardest to bring her out into the world. It's hard, you know, when you feel like people are not seeing that, even though you're trying as hard as you can to make that as visual and like apparent as possible. It's just like I feel like that's one of the core trans experiences. Some people are very lucky; they become very passable very early on, and it's not a knock on them at all to be able to have that ability to just blend so quickly. They're incredibly lucky, and it's amazing that they get to have that. But there's still, sorry, I was just walking really quickly and I'm already out of breath. Oh my god. um, but yeah, it's like there's some of us who we have to work a little harder to feel comfortable in our skin, to feel comfortable as our identity, to be able to present ourselves to the world in a way that not only feels genuine to us, but we feel like will help people read us like we want to be read, you know? Um, and I can't imagine how hard it is for a lot of you out there who are in the community and you feel kind of hopeless sometimes, where It's like you put all of this work in, you put all of this effort, you put your entire heart into it, and yet it just kind of seems like most people around you don't see you. They have these very, very uh, entrenched gender stereotypes in their head of what people in the binary are supposed to be like. And it's like if you don't mark off every single thing on a checklist, they immediately read you as what you aren't. Like you have to perform perfectly for them, otherwise they'll never see you for who you are. And for a long time, I was more angry at the cis community than anything else. I was just like, why can't they do better? Why can't they put more effort in? I was going through that stage early on of just like feeling like I had just this holy rage. Like I was on this mission and I had to like be passionate and throw as much at them as possible. But as I've kind of stepped back and I feel like matured, not just in my own journey, but like my knowledge of the community and the experiences that thousands and thousands and thousands of us have, I've realized that a lot of times it's not cis people themselves that are the problem, but it's the society we're in. It's these ideas of the binary, the ideas of what makes a man or a woman that have been around for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that have such deep roots and culture that it's really, even if you're someone who considers yourself like woke, I kind of hate that term because I feel like it demeans people like myself who try to be open minded, who try to learn, who try to accept people from like all different walks of life. Like when people call me woke, I'm just like, you're talking down to me right now, and I don't like that. Um, but even a lot of people who would consider themselves progressive, not all of them are knowledgeable about the trans community, you know? They don't know that automatically gendering someone who you've never met is maybe not a good idea. And it's not because they're doing it out of place of malice, it's just they literally don't know, you know? And it's hard to make that distinction. And I totally get where a lot of people's frustration and anger comes from. And those feelings are completely valid. Don't ever feel like they're not. That you are completely valid for feeling that way. But I feel like a lot of it really just it does come down to culture. Um, and we, as an oppressed minority, are facing such a vast swath of the population that either A doesn't really know the first fucking thing about us, or B is transphobic, maybe a part of like the TERF community. They know about us, they know how they should be treating us, and they don't really care. You do run into that, but I think some of us kind of get the wrong idea in our head. Like, we're just constantly being misgendered. We're constantly being seen the wrong way. And they see it as like this big, enormous mission as they by themselves have to change society. And honey, can't do that. You're one person. I'm sorry. The passion is good. The energy is good. But you are one person. You cannot change a system by yourself. And not only that, but you're essentially going to have to change like generations of behavior, you know, generations of like stereotypes about like what makes a person who they are. Whenever you look at someone, like the things you should be reading that tells you whether they're one thing or the other, those are outdated. They are so wildly antiquated now. But again, you have this massive part of the country in America and then people around the world who don't understand that. And I think some of us get a little bit too caught up in trying to change people's minds instead of being an example. So kind of what I've thought as I've taken time to like process how it makes me feel to be misgendered, but also how I imagine it feels for other people in the community. I've been thinking, well, little by little, what can we do to change this? What can we do in our own lives to be a better example, to be more positive, to not be like the aggressive, shouty, not necessarily like SJW types, but to make sure we're not falling into the personality type of just screaming at people who literally do not know better. That's the worst possible way to like open someone's mind to something, you know? Is to just stand in front of them and be like, ah, you know? Doesn't get anywhere. It's like people who are religious. If you want to preach your gospel to someone, you cannot communicate your message effectively if you're looking at someone and saying they're going to burn in hell. Doesn't work. I'm sorry. Um, so I think little things we can do is, I think there's a respectful way to correct people and maybe a wrong way. Um, Sometimes what I'll do at work is I have a name badge that has my pronouns on it. If someone uses the wrong pronouns, I'll be like, hey, not a sir, but here's your drink. Have a good day. If you just kind of like keep that same positive attitude, 9 times out of 10, people won't think a thing of it. And it kind of helps them realize, oh, you know, even if like the first time you do it, they don't automatically think, hey, I probably shouldn't use terms towards people I've never met. At least being like a good example, being respectful to them, even though being misgendered hurts, it really does. Don't just immediately lash out at them, you know? Be the better person, um, politely corrects them, and then also, like, if you have friends in the community, um, give them all the support you can. Do little affirming things for them. Do all you can to just like reassure them that, hey, these people don't know better. A lot of them are not trying to tell you that you aren't who you are. It's just, again, it's kind of a weird term, but it's like innocent ignorance, you know? If people don't know better, how are they supposed to call you the correct terms? They're not going to know. Um, which is not to forgive the existence of that ignorance. It's not good that it's there. But in order for us to get from where we are to a society where most people know, hey, don't use gender terms automatically, let someone tell you their pronouns, or if you don't have a chance for it to come up, just don't use terms, period. Be like, hey, how are you doing? Cool, thank you, bye. That's not difficult at all. You can have completely normal conversations that way, and it doesn't hurt anyone. Um, so kind of just like getting in the practice of something like that. But also, I think being vocal is also one of the best things we can do. Like, I'm grateful for social media because I feel like we have such a loud voice now that we're going to reach the point at some point where most people in society are going to realize they can't keep looking at us with these old, outdated views of like what makes a man, what makes a woman. Are chromosomes binary? Is sex binary? It's going to get to the point where knowledge becomes so widespread. Um, People who advocate for the community and are loud online, on YouTube, on Twitter, going to like protests in person. We're going to get to a point where basically awareness of who we are and what it's like to be trans, what that even means, is going to get to the point where people are not going to be able to A, misgender us that easily, B, try to use old arguments of like, well, if you're born one way, that's just who you are. You know, we're going to reach a point where acceptance of the trans community is widespread. It is systematic, and it's not questioned where if someone says they identify as something, yeah, cool, that's who you are. Period. Done. Boom. You know, we're going to get to that point. But in order for us to get there, it's going to take us not, again, not lashing out, not getting angry, not attacking every single person who, again, just doesn't know better. We can't make progress that way. You have to be constructive and you have to be the better example. And, you know, I get frustrated sometimes because politically I am leftist. I consider myself an anarcho-communist. And there's been so much infighting on our side of the political spectrum lately of people who are like, well, this person says things like this sometimes, so we need to kick them out of the community. Or this person did this in his past. He sexually harassed someone, and even though he made a video apologizing for that and stating what really happened, can't allow him, period. Done. He's excommunicated. No more. Or people who come over from the right who maybe were like alt-righters, they were Nazis, and they have their mind opened to realize, holy shit, I was wrong. There's still some people on the left who are like, it doesn't matter. You believe shitty things in the past, you don't belong. And I'm like, how are we supposed to build a movement if there are people within our certain groups who are just completely resistant to educating people, to helping them understand why the way they believe was harmful, and giving them the seeds and the tools they need to move forward? How are we going to help those people if we're just sitting there screaming at them? You can't. And it works exactly the same way with trying to build support and solidarity for our community. You cannot build a movement of support if all you do is attack people, period. We shouldn't have to keep arguing that. So there is that, you know? And honestly, for every one of you who are going through, say you live in a part of the country that isn't as welcoming to the queer community, and you feel like just daily you have to deal with people who not only misgender you, but they kind of like leer at you in public. They talk down to you, they make inappropriate comments, and they basically like take every attempt to just like belittle you as a person. It's tough. I have a very soft heart, and I have pretty severe anxiety, and it doesn't take much to like break me down as a person. So what I've really had to work on is having a bit of a tougher shell of understanding that just because someone says something about me, it doesn't mean it's true. That how I feel about myself, the truth that I know I hold within me, that's what's most important. Even if there are people out there who, again, call you the wrong gender, they talk down to you, and it seems like they're trying to do everything they can to basically force you to believe that the identity you know you have is not actually yours. Um, it takes a lot of work, but what you really have to do is, sorry, I'm getting over a bit of like laryngitis right now. I don't mean to just like constantly on here. Apologies. It's winter in Portland. What can you do? Um, but basically, just don't let them get to you. You know, like a lot of people just don't know better. But there are also a lot of people who genuinely, like, they want to hurt you. They want to break you down. They have like such a misunderstanding of the community that it's like they will do anything they can to you, someone they've never met, and someone who's done absolutely nothing to them. They will do everything they can to break you down as a human being. And they do not deserve your time. They do not deserve your attention. They do not deserve anything from you. Anyone who looks at you and doesn't respect you for who you are, anyone who looks at you and does not respect you as a human being, they don't respect your boundaries, they don't respect your humanity, and they don't respect your basic autonomy, those people don't deserve a goddamn thing from you, period. And it's tough kind of getting yourself to the point where you're able to like block them out, but I think the best thing to do is just listen. You're all beautiful. You all, no matter how you present, no matter how you identify, no matter where you are in the community, you are amazing people. You are worthy of all the love in the world. You deserve all the goodness that people can give you. And you don't deserve to like go through your life with everyone saying that you're not who you are, that this identity that is so dear to you is wrong. It's not true. It's bullshit. You are who you are, and nothing can change that. Okay? Seriously, it's true. You are you, and who you are is beautiful. You are valid. You are a human, and you should be treated as such. Yeah? Yeah. Um, just hang in there. I know it's hard. I'm The point I'm at now, a lot of my friends are like, no, listen, you pass, you're fine. And I'm like, I appreciate you saying that, but I can't see that from my perspective because I still see so much of my old self. And sometimes whenever people misgender you, you kind of get this idea in your head of, well, I still see my old self in the mirror, so maybe they're seeing that too, and maybe I'm not actually doing as well as I think I'm doing. Don't let those thoughts start. It's not true. It's just your anxiety or like that little part of your conscience trying to tell you you're wrong when you're not. I I've had to do like a lot of self work about learning how to combat like negative self talk. Those thoughts that tell you that like you're not worth love, that you're not who you say you are, that people don't actually enjoy being around you. All of that's false. Um, and it just takes work to really get yourself to the point where you can recognize whatever certain thoughts go through your minds, you can recognize, hey, that's not coming from me. That's either coming from like trauma or some other part of my conscious that is lying to me. You can recognize that and figure out how to cope with it, block it out, do whatever you need to do to realize, hey, you are an amazing human being. You are who you are. You are who you say you are. And there isn't a single person in this world who can tell you otherwise. So just hang in there, y'all. I love every one of you. I know life is really difficult sometimes, especially for us. Listen, I've been on this journey for a year and a half now. I know so well how difficult it is when you feel like everything's against you. No one is going to see you and support you like for who you are. But I have like an entire family of people around me who, from day one, have done nothing but like affirm me, validate me, support me, love me, encourage me, and just like see me as me. Like I've never had this in my life, and it's still surreal thinking about it. I'm just like, how did I get to this point in my life where like I literally have an entire community around me that's just doing nothing but pour love out on me? What did I do to deserve this? Like it really does seem crazy sometimes, but the truth is like every single one of you deserve that too. Even if you feel like you don't, listen, you do. I don't care what your brain says. You deserve every bit of that. Um, and if there's anything I can do in my little tiny minuscule part that I'm playing, I'm gonna do the best I can do. So, to sum up, you are who you are. There's not a single soul on this planet that can ever tell you otherwise. It does not matter what people say about you. If you know deep down who you are, then that's it. That's the truth. Done. No other argument needed. I love you all. Stay strong in this. You're all such beautiful human beings. You give me inspiration and so much more of a fire for life every single day. And honestly, I don't know what I would do without y'all. Hey, anytime. I just saw your message saying thank you for streaming. Listen, I'm happy to do this anytime. I love y'all. And I am more than happy to do this and so much more. Seriously. You've all given me so much love. I'm going to give it right back to you and then some. Yeah? Um, my bus is coming. I'm going to get off here. But thank you all of you commented. I love you. Mwah. Take care of yourselves. Be good. Don't let a single person ever talk you down or make you doubt yourself or make you feel any of those negative feelings about yourself because none of those feelings are true. All right? You're all lovely. I love you. Have a good night.